Hello, I've been asked to give an update about what BCT's been up to recently, so here goes. You'll be aware that we work primarily in sub-Saharan Africa, in nations which are low resource and in communities which are low resourced. And so, as you'll be aware, there is considerable concern about the impact of COVID-19 in those nations where there is limited healthcare and virtually no possibility of regular sanitary provision and also of social distancing. COVID-19 actually so far has been kept out of Rwanda so far as we know. They had very strict lockdown very quickly, which has meant that our partner there hasn't been able to carry out the normal activities at all. But that has had the effect, the lockdown has had the effect of restricting the number of people coming in and out of the country, and that has so far kept COVID-19 at bay. Zambia has had cases and has got cases, and obviously there is concern about containing the outbreak in that nation. Goma, which is in DR Congo, is also got cases of COVID-19, and that is a nation which is only just emerging from its massive battle against Ebola. So the situation there is particularly vulnerable. Most of the nations have imposed some sort of restrictions. Zambia and Rwanda are much more strict than DR Congo. But there are huge challenges associated with that. So for many people, there is simply a choice between risking disease and sickness and risking starvation. That's the polarized choice that they have. So if they stay in and don't work, there is no protection or provision for them, and therefore they cannot feed their families. If they go out, there is a significant risk that they will catch COVID-19, and obviously it would be very easy to spread in communities where people are very close together. We have been encouraging our partner in Goma to exercise greater lockdown measures than have been imposed by the authorities there, so they're not doing trainings at the moment with large groups at all. And they are adopting precautions when they're visiting the children on the streets. Zambia and Rwanda have both had to stop all of the support group work and the visits to families having to take place virtually over the phone. They obviously they don't really have access to computers, although they do have things like WhatsApp on their phones, and many people have that on their phones in the nations where we're working. So BCT has responded to the COVID-19 outbreak by producing some resources for those communities. They're resources for people who live in countries where it's not possible to do the social distancing thing that we have here, and it's where it's not possible to simply just lock down in your home. It's not an option. There are some resources out there, but they tend to be pitched at a level above the grassroots. And so what BCT has done is it's written several resources for the communities where we're working, and it's also taken measures to provide encouragement and spiritual encouragement through a series of WhatsApp messages, which are transmitted every Wednesday in French, Swahili and English, and can be easily distributed. And we've found that people have been really encouraged by having their attention focused back on the names and promises of God in the face of a pandemic. We've also provided some practical support in the form of soaps and disinfectant and hand sanitizers, that sort of thing, particularly in Zambia, where the people are working with children with disability. You'll see from the videos that you've got here, you'll see pictures of a lady at one of the volunteers learning about how to make and use a tippy tap. You'll see that they're all talking Bemba, so I'm not expecting you to understand what's going on, but essentially they're all laughing because she is trying to think of a song that lasts 20 seconds to sing while she's washing her hands, and she can't think of one, so they're all calling out suggestions. There's also a video there which shows the real impact of these basic supplies in low resource families. The lady there has got a little boy called Ephraim who is has profound limitations on his mobility. And she's been given the basic provisions to keep for personal hygiene and hygiene. Ephraim is, as you will see as the video goes on, when he moves along, he crawls very close to the ground, and so being able to keep the home and the floor disinfected is incredibly important at this time, because he is breathing at that very low down level. It also means that they've been able to keep him personally clean. He does have continence issues, and it's just allowed them to keep him clean and to keep themselves clean and disinfected after they've been handling his care. There's also a photo there of Joyce, our wonderful project coordinator in Wukwashi in Zambia, who is doing some teaching there on COVID. She's giving out the information to combat all the misinformation and fear that surrounds the virus. So what's going on in Goma? Well, Goma is extremely exciting, what's happened there. We work with a project called LVLE, as you know, and they have established a really strong relationship of trust with around about 300 of the children who live on the streets of Goma. And they have a rapport with the gang leaders, which has meant that they've been able to discuss with them how best they can be helped in the COVID-19 situation. And the thing that the street children have asked for more than anything else is for a place there where they can wash their hands, where they can try to protect themselves from the swift transmission of the virus should anyone they know catch it. And so we've gone into quite a lot of detail in trying to work out how best to organise that. And what's happened now is that there's a pilot been set up with 5 washing stations, and it's so exciting because it represents a collaboration between LVLE, the street children themselves, local residents who've agreed to help with this, and the local authority, the town hall, for want of a better way of putting it, the local authority in Goma itself. And the way it's going to work is that LVLE are going to build 5 washing stations with tanks of water with a tap, which will have disinfectant placed in them in advance. They're going to be placed next to households which already have water supplied to them, with the permission and the consent of those homeowners. And that of itself is an incredible breakthrough, because generally speaking people are very frightened of the street living children and don't want them anywhere near their property. They don't trust them, they think they are dangerous to them, so they normally don't want anything to do with them. So the fact that LVLE has already found hosts, what you might call host families, for these wash stations is amazing in itself. The water tanks will be filled up, and then LVLE will make a single payment to the local authority for water. Once the tanks are empty, the households will refill those water tanks as many times as it is necessary until the end of this pandemic, and hopefully beyond that. In exchange for that, the local authority will exempt them from their water bills. Now, this is incredibly exciting because it represents a kind of collaboration that is never normally seen in Goma. In Goma, people tend to do everything they do in total isolation. The local people don't really care about the children who live on the streets, and the local authorities care even less. So the fact that this has come together is really very exciting, and it is a potential prototype for future collaborations for the benefit of these children who are treated as the lowest of the low, generally speaking. So that's super exciting. So, points for prayer. Please would you pray that God in his mercy will spare African nations, low resource nations, globally, the impact of this virus. When you see the damage that's been wreaked in this country with our advanced healthcare system and infrastructure, and our ability to do things like pay for staff that have been furloughed, and then compare that with nations where there's no such possibility, then we just need to pray that God in his mercy will spare those nations. That's the first point of prayer. The second point of prayer is please pray that for the resources that we're writing, that those will reach the people that need to receive them, and that they will be transformational on the ground in terms of understanding and in terms of equipping people to do what they need to do in order to stay safe and to prevent the spread of this disease. Thirdly, please pray for the success of the LVLE pilot. It is groundbreaking in terms of BCT's work and in terms of what typically happens in Goma. Just to put that into some sort of perspective, Tear Fund is really interested in this pilot and in seeing how it works, because it's so difficult to get things off the ground in that city. So please pray for the success of that pilot. Pray that it will just change completely the attitudes of both local people and the authorities towards these children, and that they will be kept safe and protected in an ongoing way. And fourthly, please pray for the families of very vulnerable children, particularly children with disabilities or children who have HIV or AIDS, or children who are just living in extreme poverty. Please pray that they will be just held in the arms of Jesus at this time. They have so little in terms of resources and in terms of resilience, and we just need to pray that God will protect them and spread his wings over them. Thank you so much for all your support and care and love for BCT. We value it very much and we don't take it for granted. So thank you so much for all that support. That's it.
Balisa tupera ko filosopo na domestic so yalisa atwafa okukolopera ko mutoilet umwana filiala anfula panshi mwawame ko mutoilet na panshi pale kwali anfula no kwali ikala mulewani na sopo na yenda yali twafa ala ibifisha kila mufyafa twamwasha ko ifyafa la nokusambira so tuletotera ku kabungwe akavuko batwafireko batwalire pali fifine bekalekao.
Samba kurondera mfumo cyane taramfula so
ala mfula panshi so twaliwa mishtakira mshakana panshi kwa tiretu afa kwa tiretu afa panshi samba kwa mfula fina wanfu kile wanfu
akufuma wikala pena wachika samba kurondera
mone fya anfula vika amaboko panshi so ali amaboko panshi pala ba ifiko so ile yali satu afa fya fina mune kolopera ko panshi yawamya ko panshi tulo tushishi tulefo twatotera sana pakavungwe katwalirire fino mukutwafa ko batwafirisha nga kuli na findi kuli twatemwa baturungira ko na findi shire twafa ako kali umulimo babombera
nabatumine kuna bene okay. Imbeni kupa kusini.
Yeye mungu mchezi.
Ni kaka parati. Oh, bushani obali kopa. Para wale wapendeleshta. Naikwanza.
Oh,